Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, where we navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between. Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast, brought to you by Roadmap. Hey, we build websites, we do SEO, so if whether you have a website and you need some improvement, or you have a website and it's just not performing well, give us a call. Go on to detailersroadmap.com and book a demo. You can also find us on all the social medias, so go ahead and look out for Detailer's Roadmap on that. Hey, today I'm very excited, and I forgot to ask him how he pronounces his last name, but we'll give this a shot. Jared Guynes?
Oh, swing and a miss. It's Guynes.
Guynes. Okay, well,
Yeah.
not phonetic, so Jared Guynes. Which is cool. Hey, I'm going to do just a brief little thing. And on your little bio, it says 4-time Guinness World Record holder. I looked at that stuff. I cannot wait to talk about it. You said in our little Facebook message that it's way more fun to talk about anyway than digital marketing. So we'll talk about that. You are a digital advertising expert and consultant.
Yeah.
So, hey, welcome. I really appreciate you coming on board. I think this will be a really fun conversation. I think you and I have like I was looking at your off-road rig and the Dahlia, right? Is that what you have?
It's the van is a Delica. And
Delica. There you go.
Yeah. I wish the lighting was just right. Cause this big glass right over here over my shoulder actually looks into the garage. And so, here in our office, we've got a great big 6-foot, window, and, right here is Jessica's Grand Sport, and right next to it, just behind here, is the Delica. So,
that's cool.
When I come into the office, I can take a look at it.
My wife and I built. She does off-road rally. She did the Rebel Rally, which is an all-female rally. But so we have an off-road Jeep. We've done Rubicon and Moab and all that. And we actually saw one of those rigs out in Moab, and that thing is way more capable than you would think when you look at it. So but anyway, I'm off topic already.
Yeah.
So off topic already, but I want to go down that road anyway. But hey, tell us who you are. Give us kind of your background. Honestly, you're one of the more interesting guys, and no offense to all my friends that have been on this podcast, but as far as like just cool stuff that you've done, I'm really excited to talk to you. So go ahead and give us your background and kind of fill me in, and let's get to know each other a little better.
Sure. So my name is Jared Guynes. I'm a North Texan. I'm 40 years old. I'm living here in Rockwall, Texas, Royce City to be specific. And I'm a digital marketing expert, consultant, and communications guy. So I've been on the internet since the internet was available to the public. I remember putting in that AOL demo disc they used to give away at the grocery store back in would have been 94, 95, something like that, and logging in through the modem, and mom couldn't use the phone while I was logging in. And, it's really been one of those things where, if you're in this age range, late 30s, early 40s, somewhere in there, you probably have been sort of growing and evolving with the internet as it's grown and evolved. So it's been an interesting thing to kind of come along with it. And, been on social media really since 2007 is when, Facebook went public. You'll find people out there sometimes that have been on for even much longer than that if they were part of the EDU program and were on through a university or something like that. But pretty much when they opened the doors to the public and let anyone join, day one, hour one, I had logged in and created an account, and that was 16 years ago, 16 something years ago. And so anyways, just kind of been involved in the digital creation space, whether it was forums and websites. My first website that we created was way back in like 1999. And like I remember running for junior class president, and I had a campaign website, and I lost because no one had the internet at their house to type in their website to view my campaign. So I'm like, man, this is cutting edge. Like, let's go out here and like bring the tech to the people. And I forgot that only like 1 in 10 people at the time had like internet at the house. And so I lost in spectacular fashion there at old Mesquite High School.
Ahead of your time.
Yeah, exactly. I was an innovator. And so, being in this space so early and just kind of evolving along with it has taken me on a really incredible series of sort of coincidental jumps that has led me all the way to this position today, and taken me all around the world and on all kinds of incredible adventures that would blow your mind. So we'll see how much we can get into and talk about.
Yeah. It's funny because like I read your bio, I was looking through your Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, man, I have a lot in common with this guy. And what I didn't realize is I started my first web development company in 1999.
Oh, snap.
So I remember those days. If you haven't experienced 26.4 dial up and waiting for the thing to connect, like don't complain about your slow Wi-Fi
Yeah.
or any of that stuff, right?
I
Like
built a
it's
GeoCities website.
it was a
Do you remember
very different
GeoCities?
time back then for sure.
Do you remember the GeoCities websites?
I do remember GeoCities.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
GeoCities
I
was
remember those. We
that
had
was
the
my first
little
website.
animated GIFs. Did you do the little animated
Oh
GIFs and all
yeah.
that stuff? And
Oh
now
yeah.
they call them GIFs. I don't even know what they're called anymore, but we called them GIFs back in the day.
Yeah. It had a lot of fun. The GeoCities websites, and then getting on into MySpace and different stuff like that. And I was even before YouTube. There was there was Google Video, which would become YouTube, but there was also a different platform called Street Fire, and Street Fire was basically like it was like a YouTube for car guys. And for a little brief period of time, just before YouTube really took off, this would have been, I don't know, 2005, maybe 2006 or so. There was a small window. We were uploading a lot of videos, car videos and automotive content videos to this Street Fire website. It would have been almost 20 years ago now. And so back in those days, obviously cell phones hadn't quite come out of the box with cameras. That would have been the iPhone in 2007 when that really became, sort of like common, and really a few iterations after that before people really caught on and started creating content in the style that they do today. But in 2005, you could have seen me with, a $3,000 Sony 3-chip camcorder in parking lots, trying to film. I'm like, oh crap, I'm out of tape, and ejecting the cassette and putting another cassette in and stuff like this. And people thought I was crazy because I was walking around with the camcorder, and they were like, why are you filming everything? And I'm like, just trust me, like content's the future. Like you gotta document stuff. And people are like, oh man, you're crazy. And then now, people will make a small video about their dinner before they take their first bite, And so who's crazy now? And I was trying to tell everybody, but I've always been about like 10 years ahead, and people have always called me crazy. So I'm just kind of used to it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier in a joking fashion, but being an innovator is like you seem crazy at first, right? But then as things, and you don't always get it right. Ask the guys that had, did Beta, right? Betamax, the guys that did Betamax, it didn't really work out for Betamax, even though it was a higher quality. Laser discs was the same thing, right? Before DVDs, they were like the size of a record, and
HD DVD didn't work out either. There's a bunch of Sony was banking on these little alternate memory cards that was alternate to SD. It was a Sony memory stick. It was like a proprietary stick that they were forcing for a while, and that didn't work. So a lot of stuff has come and gone. Hell, remember PDAs? Did you ever mess around with one of the compact PDAs?
I have a Palm Pilot in this drawer right here, just because it's my like junk drawer of old technology. I can't like, and it's like super like, LCD screen and all that stuff,
So no one talks about this, but like, from 2003 to 2006, there was this like 36-month window of time where the cell phones were in one hand and PDAs were in the other, and they were trying to figure out how to combine the two devices. And we all thought BlackBerry was going to be the one to do it. And they maybe got as close until the iPhone came. And then in 07, people said, I'll never buy a phone that doesn't have a keyboard. I will never buy a phone that's just a piece of glass. That's stupid. You can't even text anybody with that. And I remember people like fiercely fighting against the iPhone's design being so simple and basic. And again, they were all wrong. So it's just kind of interesting to see how things adapt and change. And, throughout this whole time, I was a car enthusiast. And, really the story for that really goes back to my dad. There was a chain of automotive parts stores called Chief Auto Parts down here in the Texas and southern regions that would later be absorbed into AutoZone. So as a kid growing up, my dad was always taking me to the NHRA Nationals and to the drag racing stuff and to racetracks and to Autorama, World of Wheels, stuff like this. And like, showing me the classic cars and talking about, his upbringing in the 60s and 70s with the cars and everything. And so I was always having a fascination with motorsports, automotive stuff. And that kind of, steered me in a direction where in 2004, I bought a Camaro SS, a 1999 Camaro SS convertible, which I still own.
Nice.
And within a few months of this, I was like 21 years old. So you have a Camaro SS, you're 21 years old. It's 2004. I start getting into car meets and into the car scene, and that sort of deep dove me into this world that I'm still sort of overlapping with and a part of today. And even today, our agency, Jessica and I run a boutique marketing agency called J2 Consulting. And probably 50 or 60% of our clients are automotive related in some way or the other, with quite a bit of them being in the PPF, window film, ceramic coating. And again, I never sat down one day and said, oh man, we're going to do so much marketing for PPF guys. I had never even heard of PPF. Hell, I had when I said car bra, I had an actual piece of leather that went over the front of the car. My Camaro actually came from the dealer with this thing. It was a literal car bra, like a piece of calf skin that went around the front. That was PPF in 2004.
And then when you take it off, the entire front end is destroyed. You have to have the whole thing. Like those are once they're on, you have to keep them for the rest of your life. Absolutely.
Yeah. They used to have real car bras that were made out of like saddle leather, and you would strap these things on. And anyways, so one thing has led to another. And, so in a lot of ways, what we do for a living and a lot of the clients that we deal with and business owners that we deal with is really just sort of a lane or a little bit of a niche that you fell into. And with anything that we're doing, we're just trying to do our best and just help them accomplish their goals, but we have some clients that have nothing to do with automotive, so we have restaurants that we help out with. We do a lot of stuff in entertainment and work a lot in the pinball industry, which a lot of people don't even realize there is a pinball industry. So Stern Pinball is probably the biggest player. They're the last major manufacturer of arcade quality pinball machines in the world, and they're one of our big clients, and I've been with them for nearly 10 years now. So just stuff that's fun, stuff that's interesting to me. That's kind of one of my little secret rules about clients that we deal with is like I actually have to believe in it, know about it, and care about it myself. So if someone reaches out like, hey man, I got this vape shop and we really want to sell a lot more vapes, I'm like, I'm not the one, because I don't vape. I don't care about it. I don't believe in it. And so if you're not authentic and genuine organically, then that's never going to pass a sniff test when you try to put money behind it and force it onto someone's feed or force it into someone's search results. They're going to know immediately that someone who doesn't actually believe what they were writing wrote this, right?
Yeah.
And so just as a rule, we don't even mess with it unless it's something that falls into our area of authority or expertise and experience.
Which is sort of like the problem that people have had with taking on social media managers and stuff, right? Like you can take on a social media manager, but like they don't know your brand. And there's this thing about your brand voice, right? It's like, I could tell that someone that and we all see them. It's like, this person is writing about off-road vehicles and has never been in an off-road vehicle ever in their life. Right. Yeah, so it's having that. Right. And as the agency, if you're trying to write copy or design ads or whatever, and you're not excited about it, that comes through in everything you do, I would guess.
I totally agree. And in the early days, we tried to be turnkey. We said, we'll do anything you need. If it's computer and internet stuff, we'll do that. And then as I went on and things evolved and changed, I realized that if I'm not able to be in that client's shop or in their space, in their restaurant, in their building, but then, and especially, let's say I'm across state lines or across the country, but then I'm also tasked for being the mouthpiece and the vocal creative, content director for what this brand is saying and how we're reaching out to our market or our audience, which a lot of times is localized. Man, I'm not being authentic. I'm kind of phoning it in. I'm kind of like, getting text messages in my left hand and trying to come up with something that's cool and spit it out with my right hand. And over time, we've tried to phase out of the content management and help them manage their managers and say, listen, here's some good best practices. Here's some good consistent things that you need to do. Here's how you can help hold these kids accountable or get the most out of them. Because if you're talking about, a talented kid with a detachable lens camera that's got, pretty good talent, but doesn't know what to do with it, man, you can find these in any market in America. But then once you plug them into your business, you don't know what to ask them to do. They don't intuitively or instinctually know exactly what to shoot to give you what you need to grow your business. And so what's this missing ingredient? And this is where this consulting comes in, because a lot of times they need a manager and the business owner doesn't even know how to articulate or speak to the content creator in such a way as to get the best results out of them. And so we come in sometimes and help them sort of manage their contractors or manage their in-house team, and we sort of take it collaboratively as like a bigger team. And I found that that's a little bit of a better fit, because when you try to outsource consistent weekly content to someone who's 1,000 miles away from you, at some point or another, it's going to be a little cold and a little disconnected, and for good reason, because it's literally disconnected. So we try to coach them and encourage them to be better at doing it themselves in-house, and they're going to get a better result out of that.
And are you helping them hire along the way to say, hey, this is the kind of content creator that we want, right? Like I've had some conversations recently with somebody that's in the actually detailing space, but they went out and said, look, I want to get rid of all of our quote unquote professional content creators and hire these kids. They were like 16 to 19. They're car guys, car girls, and we'll have them do quote, and I'll use quotes, user generated content, which is curated, professionally done user generated content, right? But it's the same aspect. So are you kind of coaching them along, or you're just like, hey, this is my neighbor's nephew that needs a job, he works for us, fix him, right?
Oh man. Yeah. So we come across the client, roster, we kind of come across it all. You'll have a guy who has hired his mother-in-law's son, and there's something political or something family connected that we can't override. And I can't like fire this guy or get this guy out of here because he's kind of glued into the business, whether I like it or not.
And he's the guy that thinks he's literally the next Mr. Beast, right?
Oh, usually forget it. Yeah. So trying to coach these guys into good practices is an uphill battle. We do a lot. A lot of times a business is looking to hire somebody, and they maybe want a second set of eyes to review the applications, or to help them interview or ask questions, or to maybe interpret their qualifications in a way that they can understand, because they don't know the difference sometimes between applicant A, B, and C. And they want like a second set of eyes. So we help out with that. And the other thing that we're getting a lot into is, helping them navigate influencer marketing, influencer deals, trade deals, et cetera. Because of course, business owners are getting sort of like incessantly hit up for trade work, free work, and promo, gimme stuff. And most of the time, it's not something that's going to translate into value in a way that the client would like to believe it would. But sometimes it might. And I have seen some proof when done right and executed as a part of a plan, it can be. And so then we sort of come in and interject and say, okay, here's how we can hold them accountable. Here's what we're going to give them. Here's what they're going to give us. Here, let's define, like in writing, the deliverables and expectations, and sort of lay out how this relationship's going to go. We need to get out of the DMs on Instagram and just be making, we don't need to be making $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 business deals over a few freaking DMs on Instagram, and to be shocked that 3 months later we didn't get anything that they said after we gave this guy all this work or these parts or whatever it is. And they're like, oh man, I've got burned from influencers. I'm like, yeah, yes, you can, but also you kind of burned yourself by not managing that expectation at the beginning and having any sort of process or continuity between dealing with you and, content creators outside of your organization. So we're trying to help a lot of brands navigate that as well, and make sure that they're making more informed decisions.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask the content creator, hey, how do you measure analytics? And they look at you like you've got 3 heads. That's a good sign to move on to the next person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
How does that, so, I mean, if we're talking about large organizations that have good marketing spend, they have good budgets, they have multiple staff, that's kind of one side of that coin. But are you dealing, like, how do you coach? And I got so many questions, but how do you coach these smaller shops about influencer marketing? Or do you just coach them like, look, you're the influencer, right? Like you're the content creator, all of that. How does that kind of play out within this space?
Yeah. And so, just saying what you just said just now, is that, listen, inside of every, and again, just to dial in this conversation to the context of, automotive detailing or automotive, film protection installation shops or whatever. We're talking about this in the context of like a owner operator installer. Like this very, very common across the country is the one man or one man plus one, like a 2-man show, 1-man show. You are the influencer, or you could be. And everyone thinks if they hire someone else, then everything's going to get great. Or if I buy the Samsung S24, then my videos are going to really sail. Or if I download this software and use these templates, then everyone's going to care about my lame, boring, repetitive videos. You, the owner, have the ability to make more impactful, organic, consistent content yourself in-house. And a lot of people ignore that. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to be on camera." I'm like, man, you're throwing money in the trash. You're throwing money in the trash if you're allergic to the camera. And even though a lot of people, I understand, are not comfortable with being recorded or having a camera lens in front of their face, that's something that you can train yourself and work towards getting over and start to see the benefits of. Because here's what it is: it's real and it's authentic and it's genuine. And my message to like anyone out there about content creation is be real and be genuine and be sincere and authentic, because that resonates through the screen and into the minds of the viewers or anyone out considering the content in a way that they can relate to. Mm-hmm. And whenever you try to outsource this too much or overproduce this too much or automate this in some way that, using technology or whatever, people will detect that and they'll start to sort of quietly say, man, this guy values his own time and his own money, his own energy more than he values mine. All he wants out of me is money. And so whenever you can kind of be vulnerable and authentic with people, I think that resonates, because the people who are watching it are vulnerable, normal, authentic people too. And so we do try to coach those small business owners into, being their own influencer of sorts. And we've seen a lot of success with that. Helping these owners be the star of their own show, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's not natural. I mean, you and I are probably both done thousands and thousands of talk to camera hours and, all of that. And you do get used to it. I always tell these guys, don't be afraid to suck. Everything you do at the beginning will suck. Between this and another podcast, I'm like at 150 episodes, which really isn't that many. But if I go back and listen to the first ones on both sides, they sucked, right? And they got better, and hopefully they continue to get better and they flow a little bit better. And you don't have to. I think one of the mistakes a lot of people make is like when you see someone probably like yourself or other influencers, and even myself, where like I always call it like turning it on, right? Like I have a different kind of persona when you put a camera in my face and it's more polished or whatever, but people don't trust me as much because I put that on as like someone that's a little bit awkward. You're talking to the camera, you're kind of doing your thing. And I do want you to talk more about this authenticity. And I want to give an example of kind of what I'm talking about. So I have multiple brands, but one of the things that we've been looking a lot at is this trust aspect. And you alluded to it a little bit. People don't trust anybody anymore, right? They don't trust reviews. Sure. They don't trust it. So what we've started doing is we're asking, and we're doing this at Detailer's Roadmap as well, asking for, testimonials, right? You want to get them in front of the camera, have them talk about their experience. Yeah. But I just sent out this request to get a bunch of these. And I literally said, I'm not going to tell you what to say. If I've had an impact on your life, tell me about it. Selfie shot. I'll edit the beginning and end if I need to cut it off because of the whatever you're doing, but send it to me. And it's been freaking awesome. The stuff that you can get like that, right? So talk about that authenticity a little bit more and how guys can lean into it, how they ask their customers for testimonials and kind of generate some of this stuff. Because, I mean, as well as I do, this kind of content is just gold, really.
Yeah. So, your reputation is maybe, the most important thing that you have to build and to protect. And it's comes off with a lot more authority for your customers to be talking about your reputation and quality than you. So take, for example, your business is called McDonald's and your name is Ronald. You're the founder of McDonald's. And you're coming onto the camera saying, hi, I'm Ronald, and you really need to buy my burgers. These are the best burgers. They're the highest quality burgers, and you're going to love these burgers. Well, come on into McDonald's today, and I'll see you here. Somewhere along the way, people are viewing or seeing this and saying, well, of course you believe in your business. You are the proprietor of the business. Like, you are Ronald. You're never going to say anything wrong. So automatically your credibility in terms of, telling the truth is going to be taken with a grain of salt, because everyone expects you to have bias in your own best interest. Now, in the case of a customer who doesn't have any skin in the game and can be very objective, their review, what they have to say, can be taken into consideration. What people might hear or see them saying is definitely going to be taken into consideration. Any shop owner in America will give you all kinds of stories about jobs that they got from another job that they did. And what happened was, after that job was completed, it wasn't necessarily a Google review. It wasn't necessarily a text message. It was a conversation that happened over a dinner table or over a phone or in a parking lot or whichever at some point after that. And they said, who did you use? Are they any good? And this friend who has developed trust over years or decades before the fact is telling the truth to their other friend. And that stamp of approval from someone they've already earned and traded trust with, that might be the push. Now, from there, if they go to the website and they check it out and they do their own research, and maybe they don't convert or they don't fill out a lead or any information, then yeah, that's when we're going to want to follow them around with retargeting ads, or have, I want to make sure that they've been to the website, had some amount of session or duration time, and interacted in some way, and either did or didn't do an action. And based on what they're doing, then, and other places around the internet, we're going to make sure that they don't forget about this incredible opportunity, this incredible value or product that we have to offer. But people are absolutely going to read reviews. They're going to do research. They're going to try to learn more to make an informed decision. And it's in your best interest to have as much of that available, as many places as possible that, paint you in a positive light. So we are trying to coach, all of our clients, for example, to have a simple QR code even in the lobby, or in the front of their business by the checkout, and to try to lean into driving reviews and asking for them, and getting people to scan a QR code or to program their CRMs to text message the clients after such duration of time, to make sure they get the link, or to even follow up and say, hey, I didn't see that review that, remember, you said you were going to leave me a review. I didn't see that come in. Is there a problem that you know about? Is there anything that didn't meet your expectations? You can even call. So if you're asking for reviews and driving reviews and helping the clients understand that it matters and that you're looking for them and needing them, then you're going to see them come in much more frequently than not, because a lot of owners just will do the work and just kind of shrug their shoulders and say, well, the CRM sent a text message, I guess they didn't care. And just hope that magically they're going to get hundreds of reviews. I think our biggest client in this industry has just over 1,100 reviews, and they're pretty much all 5 stars. And he's earned them. Mm-hmm. By grinding. And one time he got a 3-star review, I think, and he drove over to the guy's house because he had him. He had him in the CRM. He knew his address, and he's like, ding dong. Hello. I'm sorry I called you. You didn't answer. Just making sure you're unhappy. And the guy's like, oh my gosh, my finger slipped. I'm so sorry. So,
my finger slipped, right?
I don't get too OCD about 5 stars, because, to be honest, if you have 1,000 5-star reviews, I'm a lot more interested about that 1 star. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the one I'm going to look for. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I want to see the spicy.
I sort by lowest instead of highest, right? Because I want to see. And most people recognize that there are just some nut jobs out there, but like the data is pretty solid. Like people trust all 5 stars less than like a 4.7.
Yeah, I need a 4.7, 4.8. I actually don't want the 4.9 or the 5.0, because I don't want you to be fake. I want you to be pretty damn good with a few imperfections. But I also really like to see the true character of a shop owner or business owner will come out in the response to a 1 or 2 star review. That's when you're getting into adversity, you're not just saying, thank you for your 5-star review. Boring, boring, boring. When someone's leaving a 1-star review, especially if they're calling you out on something that's indefensible, seeing someone take accountability, seeing someone apologize, seeing someone make it right, seeing someone, how they handle that would be a lot more compelling to me to go ahead and make a decision to trust a brand than just a whole pile of endless, unreadable 5-star reviews, in my opinion. Yeah. So a lot of people will freak out about this 1 star. They'll be waking up at, the middle of the night or something and seeing the Google email, and they're losing their mind. My advice to anyone who gets that is, man, be thankful for the 1-star review, because it's going to give you a golden opportunity to really shine about how you respond to something that is unexpected. In a way that might end up driving you more opportunities and consideration than just, 25 5-star reviews.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, small business owners, especially, that have such ego about their business that they just, they'll blame the customer. Like, you can't, I've had experiences in different industries where you get a 1 star and that's the first time you heard from that customer that something was wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's appropriate in that case to say, oh, we do our best to try to make sure any issues are taken care of. I wish we had known, and I'm going to reach out to you to try to make up for whatever, whatever that issue is. But like,
Mm-hmm.
to your point, it's, you have to respond to those in a positive, because you can spin it. You're not even really trying to spin it. You're trying to own it. And
Yeah.
some people are just unreasonable, which you can't really do
Mm-hmm.
anything about, but
That's okay.
you can still respond. What I love to do is respond in a way that almost inadvertently highlights the unreasonableness of this person, but
Yeah, it's
makes you
fun.
like you could, because you can do it in a way that it's just it's almost subversive,
Sure.
but yeah, that's for sure. And I think, one of the things, I think, if we're talking about video content, I'd love your opinion on this, but once, if you're dealing with, or your staff is dealing with the drop off and pickup, when that customer picks it up, if they're
Oh
happy
yeah.
about it, you don't need to be afraid to ask them. Like, you can grab a 30-second comment right there,
Yeah.
if they're, and it's a little awkward. You kind of have to play that game a little bit. But this episode is brought to you by Detailer's Roadmap. Hey, spoiler alert, that's us. We all know you need a kick-ass website in order to be successful with your business. The good news is, at Detailer's Roadmap, kick-ass websites, that's kind of what we do. With the latest performance, designs, and SEO strategies, Detailer's Roadmap is your one-stop shop to be successful on the web. And don't forget, we have the best support team in the industry. Whether you're an existing partner looking to improve your lead generation, or you need a brand new website, Detailer's Roadmap is here to help you be successful on the web. So go to detailersroadmap.com/success and get started today. That's detailersroadmap.com/success.
Yeah, they are afraid. And so yes, there is an opportunity to capture right there when they're the most excited, when they're the most happy, when they're the most willing. If you ask them even 3 days later, a week later, the willingness and the likelihood goes down, 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 down. So right there, when you're giving them delivery of their vehicle, or they're just giving you payment, you're going to ask, are you happy with it? Or some of them are going to be yelling, this came out better than I thought. This looks incredible. I'm so happy with this. And you need to stop them in their tracks right then and there and say, listen, I love hearing that. Can I count on you to scan that QR code right on the wall and write exactly what you just said on Google? That would mean so much to me and my family. That would mean so much to my shop and my staff. Like, those are the kind of comments that I wish that my customers would leave on our Google business profile more often. And right then and there, when you're telling them what you're saying is good, but I need you to scan this and write it here. Now you're coaching them and helping them understand that this matters. We need this. This affects my family. You're humanizing it in a way that they're going to relate to. You're saying that means so much to me and my staff. That means so much to my family and I. Like, that would be, the best thing in the world to have you scan that QR code and write that down. Or you say, listen, could I get you to say it one more time? Don't be weird about this, but would you mind if I just pulled out my phone and you just say that one more time? That would be incredible for our socials. Like, I would love to feature that. And you'll be surprised at, not everyone necessarily will agree, but you'd be surprised how many people are willing. But you, the shop owner, must be willing first to be brave and to ask for the permission for you to record or document, even photograph. Maybe someone's not comfortable with the video. That's fine. Let's see if we can get them to stand next to their car and give a thumbs up. Let's take a selfie together. Let's get you and the installer out by the vehicle. Let's just try to humanize it in some way. Too many shops just want to take a boring, silent 3/4 shot of a parked car in front of the door, right? And then they want to write a paragraph about we did the tri-stage 10-year OptiMax UV Radicant exfoliant, Uveritide, super sealant, and like, no one knows what the hell you're saying, man.
And no one cares.
And no one cares, because it doesn't even matter. First of all, you're using inner industry speak, whatever you're talking about, and the photo you're showing is just a shiny, 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 clean car. That would be great if we were a car dealership and we were selling this car and we're trying to convince someone this is a beautiful car for them to buy, but we're not even selling the car. We're selling the service, and the service we did already happened a day ago. And you need to get better at documenting and showcasing and doing storytelling with the service, whatever that is. So if you're doing paint correction, if you're doing ceramic coating, if you're doing window film, if you're doing PPF or anything, show what you're selling. Don't necessarily just jump to the result, because it's hard for the viewer and their very limited amount of time and attention they're even going to give you anyways, to understand the cool part, which is what happened to get it to look like this. How did you make it look like this? Right. And so a lot of guys say, well, I just don't have enough budget right now to hire a videographer. I just need a content guy. I'm like, no, you have a freaking 4K video camera in your pocket right now.
Yep.
Stop being lazy and making excuses. You can pull your phone out and say, oh, I need my hands to install. They make a tripod. You can just put your phone right on it and press record. Right.
Yeah. The one I'm using for my fancy Sony right now is a $12 tripod, and I have a little attachment for the top of it that fits my iPhone. Right.
Same. So. I got my little Sony camera set up right now. I got it in, I think, the USB output mode. And right here, I got, maybe a $15 little plastic tripod, might even be like 8 inches tall.
Yeah.
Right. And so don't be $8 away from a solution talking about, I need $3,500 a month to hire somebody to solve this problem. No, you don't. A little bit of ingenuity, a little bit of time and effort once. And what you need to get is into repetitive patterns of behavior where you're documenting what you're doing more often. And then also you need to believe in it. And let me talk about that real quick, because a lot of shop owners tried this 5 or 6 years ago. They tried it for a week or two. They didn't see a lift in sales. They didn't see a lift in calls. They didn't see a lift in clicks or form fills or whatever. And they said, it's all bullshit. It doesn't matter. Doesn't do anything. Not worth my time. Not worth my effort. And this one menial little half-baked attempt at documenting what they do more often that didn't pan out into something that they can measure from 5 years ago. And they've written this off and they just don't believe in it. And since at the core, they don't believe in it, they've not made any sort of efforts or tried again or revisited the topic. And they're getting lapped by new shops. They're getting lapped by new installers, and new, young, hungry guys are coming out and doing much better than them, much faster than they are, because they're sort of holistically looking at the entire pile of options to tell your story and all the different ways and channels that people can find it. I found a shop owner right here in the North Texas area that went from just washing cars in driveways about 5 years ago to opening up his first shop 3 years ago to passing $1 million in revenue in 2023. And guess how many dollars in ads he's ever run? $0 in ads.
Wow.
0 ads Meta, 0 ads Google. He has a basic little just basic website. I don't know if he's using Squarespace or what he's using. So he doesn't even have an awesome detailer's roadmap, website, which we know how powerful those are. We know how powerful SEO can be. He just bulldozed all of the things that I would say that you need to do. And you know how he did it is super high quality, super high reputation, and knocking it out 9.9 out of 10 almost every time. And every one of those guys telling every one of those guys. So listen, if you're good at what you do, people are going to find out about it. And if you're bad at what you do, you're not going to be able to outmarket it. No amount of money on Google or Meta or anywhere is going to make people believe that you don't suck. If you suck, then forget marketing for a minute and let's go back to basics and get better at what you do. The whole point of marketing is not to save your business, is to amplify what you're already good at and have authority at to more people more often to get more consideration. That's the point. So people sometimes will say, oh, I need marketing. I'm like, no, what you need is to be a good installer. And you're wanting me to convince the public that you're better than your competitor. But I looked at it and actually your competitor actually is better than you. and that's a terrible thing to tell someone sometimes. But sometimes they actually need to hear it because they think that they're just, $10 a day away from just turning the whole ship around. And by the time they suddenly believe in marketing, they've taken so much water on the boat that I'm just trying to get on the life raft and get off the Titanic over here. No, we can't fix every single problem, So
yeah, and that's what we're facing right now, right? We're facing that right now because we're recording this in mid-February, right? We're coming out of quote unquote the slow season, and we've been talking to all these shops like you need to have a marketing strategy all year long. Right. Like can't, and a content strategy and a, trust strategy at all of these things. And, earlier you were talking about just these finished car shots, and we've been beating this into the detailing side of the automotive industry for forever, especially at Detailer's Roadmap, because I don't know why people in this industry can't understand that, like, literally if I clean and put sealant on the hood at a junkyard, and I take the same kind of angle depending on the angle. I could probably make it look the same as the 3-step polish that you just did on this other hood, right? Like,
Yeah,
so that doesn't mean anything. Like, this
means
finished
nothing.
car shop means absolutely nothing because it
Yeah.
doesn't. And you can go into this a little bit more, but this whole, like, how does the service I provide solve the pains of the customer? Like,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
don't care if this car is shiny unless that's what they want, and you explain to them how their car being shiny helps them, in whatever way they need to have that help.
Trying to tell the story of what you did. Like, we did a 2-year coating, a 3-year coating, a 5-year coating, a 10-year coating. First of all, they all look the same. And you might as well have just not even put the coating on there at all. If that's all you want to do is post a picture of a shiny car, you don't even have to put ceramic coating on it. You can clean a car up pretty good and just say it has ceramic coating on it. Where they're going to come over there and test the hydro beating properties of the clear coat.
Yeah,
the person's never going to be able to do this on their news feed, right? So, someone trying to use a still car photo in a parking spot to generate so much action and excitement and interest that it drives more sales is like saying, man, we just put so much insurance on this car. This got the $100,000 insurance. This got the $200,000 insurance. We just put a $1 million insurance policy on this car. Could you believe it? Call us today so we can insure you. Like, it's invisible. It's right. Invisible. So, and that's the thing is that, ceramic coating once cured is invisible. Window tint once installed, a lot of times is indiscernible. PPF in most cases is clear and translucent.
Right? Like, you shouldn't be able to tell it's on the car.
Yikes. Yeah. Unless you're like, you're bulking something with like a rusty X-Acto knife or something. But a lot of times what these guys are doing ends up being imperceptible. And so the story really is in the installation process and really talking about what problem are we solving, which, by the way, is like a fundamental marketing philosophy. I don't care what we're selling or what we're trying to communicate. The premise is we have the solution to your problem. I am hungry. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. We cook food. This is a solution. So the marketing in between is how do you communicate that we have food available for the people that are hungry, and how do we connect the problem and the solution? Okay. So what problem does PPF solve? What problem does ceramic coating solve? What problem does ceramic window tint solve, et cetera, et cetera? And the closer that we get to explaining these benefits, explaining this solution, the quicker and easier that the target can be in true consideration process to say, I want that. I need that. I would like to get a quote for that for my vehicle. Right. And so none of that's going to come through in just a photo with a bunch of technical jargon and speak. And the reason so many installers are doing this is because, and I've been in this and I've seen, is because they are the receptionist. They are the accountant. They are the installer. They are the janitor. They are also the photographer and the social media manager. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these guys are juggling like 10 different jobs as this one super duper entrepreneur man. And they'll tell me, Jared, when the car was done, was the first opportunity I had. That was just I know I need to do better, but I was just really busy. I'm like, listen, you're going to keep making excuses. It's always going to be the market's fault. It's always going to be the weather's fault. It's always going to be the economy. Oh, it's an election year. It's the election year's fault. You're going to keep finding excuses until you start finding solutions. And all I'm saying is that no matter what year it is and what's going on, we are in the business of staying in business. We are here to continue. We are here to grow. We are here to stick around and hopefully do better this year than we did last year, no matter the circumstances. And by the way, if it is tough circumstances, it's also tough for your competitor who's in the same zip code as you, who's 5 minutes away from you, 10 minutes away from you. So these like super duper market conditions that people like to lean on as excuses are the same exact conditions that everyone in your market is also simultaneously dealing with. So if it's bad for you, it's bad for them too. And now we're back on an equal playing field once again. So I want people to just focus a little bit more in their content strategy to help the audience understand the solution to the problem. And, this is one thing that detailers roadmap websites do fantastic. They do fantastic because it's like one of the core principles is that these landing pages, these service pages, these product pages that are on these websites are going to comprehensively explain with graphics, with videos, and with plenty of, SEO rich text, which is not an accident, folks. These guys know what they're doing.
Right.
Right. It's helping to try to explain this value, this solution. But even the best website in the world, and Giovanni can watch this, and I'm not wrong. The whole point of this is to get them into your email box, onto the phone, or into your lobby so you can close the deal. The website's not necessarily intended or expected to find the customer, educate the customer, and close the customer. And if you're
literally, we just call it a tool. We just call it a tool. Yeah,
it's a tool,
just like anything else.
It's a tool. And so, yes, we want the website to be strong. Yes, we want the socials to be strong. Yes, we want our videos to tell stories. Yes, we want our reviews and reputation to be good. But at the end of the day, someone's going to end up calling you, walking in, or sending you a message and saying, here's my vehicle. Here's the coverage or the product that I want. How much is that for me? And what you say and how you respond and how you treat them, or sometimes how quickly you can even get them in, all have to factor into if they convert into a job or not. Because right now, when it's slow, a lot of guys will say, well, I'll do anything I can get to get a customer in. But about 45, 60 days from now, they're going to start telling people, well, we're 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. And it's not even that's a problem. If you're 2 or 3 weeks out, it's because you're really good and you have a lot of demand. But you're holding off on hiring one more installer to help you take cars in more often because now you want to keep your payroll down. Well, you telling someone they got to wait 3 weeks to act on the excitement that all this content and all this reputation was generating is going to absolutely at least push an opportunity to your competitor, if for nothing else than just out of pure convenience. It's not even that they don't want to do business with you. They called you first, but you said that they're going to wait 3 weeks and they're excited right now. They're taking their Tesla delivery in 72 hours. And they tried to call you, but you told them they got to wait and they don't want to wait. So the business owner knows the solution to this is to scale up or to, train more installers or find installers. And then they come with a different problem. They say, oh man, the cheap help is terrible and, does drugs and doesn't show up to work. And the good help thinks they're rock stars and have their own Instagrams and they just, want 6 figures on day one. I can't afford those guys. What do I do, Jared? And I almost feel like there needs to be detailers roadmap business academy or something. They need to fly everyone up to Wisconsin, put them in a room and be like, here's how you hire, here's how you train, here's how you keep your guys retained, because it's a lot more than websites. It's a lot more than SEO or marketing or digital communications. Everything that we do, the detailers roadmap team, J2 team, everything that we're doing is really in the discovery, communications, and informational side of it. But that is in fact just one block of what needs to be right to run this business. And a lot of what business owners have to do, we can't do for you. We're not going to be there to answer the phones. We're not going to be there to greet the customers and to talk to them. And I just assume that everyone does this diligently and professionally. But sometimes, man, we get in these inboxes and we see the way that these business owners are talking to customers or not talking to customers. And I'm thinking, shit, why are you paying us to help you get more leads when you don't
know what to do with them in the first place?
No, you don't even know what to do. You're asking for more leads. You can't handle the leads you got, So it's just an interesting thing because this whole industry is a little bit of a run and gun kind of feel. It's a bootstrap kind of feel. A lot of guys are kind of grinding and making it. They've started their first LLC. They've got their little lease place and they've got their Facebook and their Instagram and their TikTok stuff going. And they're kind of in build mode. But man, delegation to other team members for different things is ultimately going to be a good investment. So if you don't have the budget to do any more than you're doing, then try to get better at what you do and optimize your own processes. But then after that, you might say, listen, maybe I don't need to build my website. Maybe I need to hire somebody. Maybe I don't need to try to master my own SEO. Maybe I need to hire somebody. Maybe I don't need to try to be, a consistent, diligent content creator because I've tried honestly and I just suck. Then maybe you need to hire somebody. Maybe you can't hire them full time. Maybe they need to come by once a week. Maybe you can just hire a guy to stop by for 4 hours a week every Friday. And just every Friday, he's going to come in and pull out his camera. And so you don't necessarily have to do full time or nothing. Sometimes there's, contractors or part-time guys that you can team up with. And there's always a bunch of solutions to consider. I just need people to sort of open their minds a little bit, that there is a whole world of solutions to kind of think through before they freak out.
Yeah, for sure. And you were talking about training and getting busy and then I'm not busy now. Well, guess what? Now And again, you have to plan for this, but now is the time to be training your people that are going to be working on cars in July, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
really train if you've got so many cars that you're 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
It's just so how do we, I mean, I'm a business guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in self-employed for almost 25 years. I'm 10 years older than you. Like, how do we take an industry that has a relatively low barrier of entry, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have an MBA to run a PPF shop, detail shop,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? Like this is,
Yeah.
it's not a and I don't mean this to demean the industry in any way. What I'm saying is that it doesn't require as much heavy lifting as some other businesses probably
Sure.
require, at least in the beginning, right? Like how do we bridge that gap and train detailers, PPF installers in order to be business owners, right? Because that's what you're talking about, right?
And I think that's the truth. And that's just something, that's a topic that we don't hear so much of, right? And in a lot of these different owners groups or detailers groups that owners are in, they're very concerned about make my phone ring more, make my website forms be filled out more, let me get leads more, because they just think leads equal money and more money equal good. And if I only had more money, then my life would be fine. Well, let me just give you guys watching or listening a little vision. What if I told you that there is such a shop that does $1.2 million in revenue and makes, much more profit than a shop that does $3.5 million in revenue, but takes $3.2 million to make the $3.5 million, right? So the amount of profit that you make is the real number. And it's not so much just the revenue. And if you have more money, you will have more problems. And if you have a bigger staff, you are going to have more things to navigate and to sort out. And if you've got 15 or 20 installers or a 10,000 square foot shop or whatever, you're going to keep scaling up all these problems. So it's not just as simple to say, if I had more money, then everything would be fixed. You're just going to make your problems and the scale of things bigger and bigger and bigger. The problem isn't so much that, I need more marketing or I need more leads. A lot of times the problem is I need to have staff that shows up. I need to have installers that install cleanly and do it diligently more often and have less waste. And we're not having to redo or warranty things. I need to have accounts set up in a way that's more consistent. So that way, even if I know we're going to have a few unprofitable months, at least we're not going too far into the red. And during the winter months, we're just going to, get by and pay the bills and keep the staff keep their hours consistent, because we're going to get more dealership work and do more bulk work until the spring comes around. We can get more retail work that has higher profitability. A lot of guys will make so much money in the summer, they'll go out and buy $100,000, tri-tune boat and a brand new F-350 to pull it down the street. And then come December or January, when they're making 75% less, they're saying, oh my God, I got to let guys go. All this high talent labor that I spent the last 6 or 8 months, like training and building up. And now I don't have money to pay them because I got to make this boat payment, this truck payment, whichever. And you got to put away for the winter and sort of plan for the slow times. And you need to also stop looking at your business so much in terms of daily or weekly sales and a little bit more into monthly or even quarterly or even annual sales, right? Because it is a wave. It's not something that's just going to be a flat line. It's just there's a high time and a low time, and different depending on where you're at in the country or what state or country you're in. There's entire parts of the country that almost shut down. Damn near shut down during the winter in different parts. And there's other parts of the country that have like a turn. Okay.
I'm in Montana, so I know what but like we shift.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't run a full-time shop anymore. I haven't for years, but we did like 80% interiors during the winter because it's stupid to go wash your car. Why would I wash this car? It's going to be dirty before I get that, before the customer gets to the end of the, end of the block. But yeah, to your point, it's just like there's these waves, right?
Yeah. So, I've seen, there's a few different guys that are now starting to get a little bit more into sort of the business side of it. There's one guy, Mike Burke, who owns a big chain called Sun Stoppers. And Sun Stoppers is a lot more than just marketing. They're a little bit of a brand in a box, and they can take a, Billy's, car alarm and window tent in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and make them, Sun Stoppers Muskogee, and, help them help them have a little bit more of a brand and a presence. And Mike and his team will get in there and go way deeper than marketing. They get into sales, they get into retention, they get into sort of the management of a business. There's another guy, I think it's, is it Automotive Film Solutions? Is Mike Naray? Jess? I can't remember the name of the business offhand, but there was a workshop in Las Vegas that was just before SEMA. And it was really all sales. It was getting into scripts, and it was getting into sort of the business of managing your business. And I think that that's an interesting thing that hasn't been quite touched on enough, because honestly, this whole industry is a little bit young. Like, it's not as developed as a lot of other industries. You feel like it's a little bit of a wild west. There's a lot of innovation and kind of figuring it out that a lot of guys are doing. And so one of the things that they really haven't touched on too often that I've seen is this sort of business coaching. And I'm not the guy to do it. You know, I'm a hype guy. I'm an excitement guy. I'm here to get people hyped up and excited. That's what I do. And that's what I like. But I'm only one piece of a solution, because sometimes dumping a lot of hype and publicity and excitement on something actually doesn't fix things. You know, not if other things are broken and haven't been addressed. Like, you got to build a house on a foundation, you know? And the foundation, for example, is a website. And a lot of guys will have, you know, a $25 website and want to dump thousands of dollars of marketing on top of it. And I'm thinking, get your stuff together first before you call us. And we want to start, you know, spending money through Google or Meta to, you know, try to bring qualified, you know, traffic to your socials, your website. If your website is junk, man, then like, you need to call Chris. Like, you need to get in line and get them their stuff. And man, you know, you wouldn't believe how many people have told me, or how many people Chris has told me that they pay the money and they even want to get their Detailers Roadmap website, but they haven't filled out the questionnaire. They hadn't sent in the assets. Like the Detailers Roadmap team is literally standing by to build your website if only you'll respond to their email. And you won't even respond to their email. And you paid them. You're paying you paid them to build your website, and they want to build it, but they need a little bit more input from you. And now they're waiting a week. What does that say about how you're going to handle customers? When a customer wants to pay you and they emailed you, are you going to respond to them too? You know? So that's something that you need to fix. And I'd be interested as we go forward, just as an industry, for people to sort of delve into that a little bit. And I don't know if it's just like, you know, we all need to like put chairs in a circle and be like, hi, you know, I'm Tim, I'm a shop owner. And you know, like, I don't know. I don't know you know, what the solution is there.
We try to differentiate, and I have this little brand called Detailers Helper that, you know, I basically make tool belts. But back in the day, I was the only guy on YouTube doing business related videos, because that was my background. Like, I didn't care about doing detailing stuff, and I kind of got bored with it. And then other people took over and they started doing business stuff. But like, we always differentiate. And I think the same is true in PPF or tent or audio or whoever, but we say there's a difference between business owners that do detailing or PPF and and detailers or installers or whatever. Like, it's just very different thing. And I think we're growing as an industry, as an automotive industry. And these guys are learning, and girls are learning more and more about what it takes to run a business, and realizing that that's the most important thing, like learning how to run the business. And you made the statement, which is true, that you have to be good at your craft. Right. But at the end of the day, I can be the best at something and still unable to sell it, still unable to support it, and still unable to market it. And no one will know, and no one will care. And so that's that business. Like, my biggest encouragement for everybody is go learn how to run a business. And I use this phrase, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Right. Like, if you're a single operator that's making a decent living, you live in, you know, North Texas, and it's less expensive than San Francisco. I grew up in Texas and Oklahoma, by the way. But if you live in an area that you don't have to make $1 million a year in order to feed your family, and you're happy, don't let the hustle culture drive your behavior, right? Like, maybe that's what you're best at, and maybe this fits. If you want to do $1 million a month, work to that. If the market supports it, all that stuff. But all that to say, like, just, you know, find your lane, learn how to do business, and then, you know, begin to look at other experts to help you along the way.
Yeah. I wish more people, more business owners would maybe come to that conclusion, because it seems that maybe hand in hand with running shops in this industry comes this sort of built-in, I've got to grow. I've got to do more. I've got to scale. I've got to duplicate. If we did 2 million, I need 4. If we did 4, I need 8, or whichever. And, the sort of, Grant Cardone, let's just X10 our whole life kind of philosophy sometimes is just unsustainable, unfeasible, or your market won't support it. Right. And
big point there. Right.
Right. I'm saying it's okay to be okay. We have a client in Pennsylvania who's been doing great, consistent business for 20 years. He's having, consistent growth, but he has no aspirations to open a second shop. He has no aspirations to take his brand and move it 30 miles this way and have my version east and my version west and my version north. Some people can't sleep at night because they can't stop thinking about doing one more thing and whatever. But I think that maybe it's just me getting older and just kind of realizing is that, man, like, who are you competing against and why? Because sometimes the guys who are earning, 7 figures and up in their shops are the most stressed out and they've strained their relationships. They burned everything else down. They don't show up to the barbecue anymore. They hadn't even been out of their shop more than, a few hours a day just to, shower, eat, and come back again. That's not living, so there has to be some sort of sustainability and a little bit of a balance as well to not let your shop run you, and a lot of times we find that the shop owner really is the best installer and would rather install. And they'll tell me quietly, like, I don't even like dealing with people, Jared. I don't like to answer the phone. I don't want to even talk to these guys. I just want to install. I'm like, listen, if that's what you really feel, then that's okay. But you need to hire someone to be the people person.
Right.
Because if you don't want to be the people person, then thank you for being honest and recognizing that. But now what are you going to do about it? You need to hire someone to answer the phones who does like people. You need to hire someone to respond to emails or to greet people when they come to the door. And if you want to be an installer, then go back there and be the installer. I've even come across places where the owner of the shop is like the lead installer, but has a manager that they hired to manage them.
Yep.
And I've actually come across that. And if you have, the honesty with yourself to seek out a solution like that, I think that that's good. And I think that, people have all different sort of, shapes, sizes, and preferences, and just kind of finding your lane where you fit in and get optimized is a good thing. And, you don't have to do every single thing yourself. You're going to blow out and you're going to burn out if you try to do that. It's inevitable.
And don't try to compete with other people in your industry. I always tell people, stay off Facebook, a couple of different, stay out of whatever group you're in. Just go to work, go do your thing, go spend time with your family. I was listening to a podcast the other day. They were talking about staying off social media of any kind for the first 90 minutes of your day.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about 75 hard, let's do a 90 hard, and where the 90 hard is 90 seconds of no social media. It's it could be very toxic depending on who you are and what you're reading. And too much of the industry, in my opinion, is caught up into what this other shop owner is doing, what this guy in this state's doing, the content that this shop made, and why does mine look just like that? And I want what they have, and I want to be what they are. And listen, none of this thoughts even entered your head till you got on the phone and started focusing in the wrong lane and being a part of the wrong group. Because in your business, in your shop, they're just waiting for you to clock in and tell them what to do. And you're over here looking at other shop owners 1,000 miles away whose business and tactics have honestly nothing to do with you or the performance of your shop. And you're working yourself into a bad mood. Yeah. And you need to take responsibility for what you let into your own eyes and into your own ears. And I see a lot of these groups it's just a big circle thing. And that kind of comes back around to the philosophy of content creation the same way. If you look at it, a lot of shops are creating content for other people in the industry. They're using nomenclature and descriptions, and they're using technical terms that only people in the industry could even understand in the first place. And that's a telltale sign that you're doing sort of industry specific content for the sake of jockeying on or impressing other people in the industry, and not so much for driving attention for the solution that you're providing, the value you're providing to the actual retail market that you're actually trying to get in front of. And you need to keep that in mind, that you're not creating content for some shop owner 1,000 miles away. You're creating it for the new car owner that's 5 minutes down the street. And that's a better focus. Is let's focus our attention and our content and our efforts on the actual audience we're trying to reach and trying to engage.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's interesting that the two of us are, you're 10 years younger than me, but I feel like that we're in that later stage of maturity when it comes to how we look at business. I say a couple things. First of all, if money is your goal, you'll never have enough. So don't chase it. And to your point earlier, enjoy what you're doing. I want people to build a life use their business to build a life, not sacrifice their life in order to build a business. right? Like there's so much more to life than just, look, I have tons of brands. I have tons of businesses. That's my hobby. Like that's the creation part of it is what I enjoy. But I still don't work 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week. I want to go out on date night with my wife, and I want to go play in the shop and play with my cars and all that kind of stuff. And if my kids are older, but if I had little kids, right, I want to stop at a certain point and spend time with my kids or spend time with my friends or whoever it happens to be. But I would encourage the younger guys and girls that are listening to this, don't wait until you're 40 and 50 and worse yet 60 and 70 to realize that I've given up my entire life in order to build this business that hasn't done anything for me other than provide me more income or whatever. And that's a simplification, right? But that's what you're, I think, saying, and part of what you're saying is finding
that's the premise. That's the premise. If at what cost is it worth it, right? So there just has to be balance. Everyone's got to work. Everyone's got to provide value to get value for themselves. So don't think that if you do something else that you're going to get out of it, that you're just going to trade one polished dress for the other. So that's not it. All I'm just saying is that, a lot of guys are sort of in there 70, 80, 90 hours a week and just not coming up for air. And there's got to be a better way. So and that has nothing to do really with what, our teams offer so much. And that's why I was kind of getting to the sort of the heart of the matter is that I think a little bit of this sort of business and almost even like life coaching to a degree might be in order to really help shop owners optimize and align themselves in a way that's sort of, more holistic, just kind of more just all encompassing.
Yeah, we need it for sure. There's some guys that do it, a guy named Grant Menard that does it in the detailing industry and some other automotive stuff. And there's some guys out there doing business coaching. I mean, heck, if you can't find someone in the automotive industry, go to somebody that does almost any other industry, because the concepts of running your business, doing sales, closing, content creation, all those kind of things can be very, very similar. But I think this is a great segue as we kind of wrap up a little bit. You made us I watched a video of your cool Nerf event, which I want you to talk about. But sure. as part of the B-roll and your voiceover, you talked about having a dream and exploring those dreams. And really, to me, it was super inspiring, because this is kind of how I want to live. I try to live my life. I joke and say, look, I had to start adding new things to my bucket list because I had already checked off all those things on the original one. Right. Like I keep, and you're probably the same way, but it's this concept exactly what we're talking about, right? Like going beyond your marketing agency and doing social media and doing content creation and all of the things that you do for your quote unquote job, and actually having fulfillment in other areas. Can you explain what that is? Explain the Guinness Book of World Records and this huge ass event that is freaking awesome. By the way, I tend to deal more with 9mm bullets than Nerf bullets, but we don't try to shoot those at people unless it's absolutely necessary. But like this was so interesting to me, and I think, and I want to put it in context of like, this is a dream. This is something I want to do. This is really fun. This engages a ton of people. Like this is like a life event that goes far beyond and anything else that you do.
Yeah, I in 2013 I was about to turn 30, and I had just had a series of sort of unremarkable birthdays. You get to there's this sort of stage in your 20s after you move out and you're kind of on your own, where birthday turns into birthday phone call or birthday dinner, or just you plus one, or it's just a small ordeal. And I kind of wished for the curated birthdays where my mom would invite everybody. She would rent out the room at the local pizza place or whatever, and I'd show up and we're at Chuck E. Cheese, and here's 24 of my friends, and she had coordinated with the other moms in the classroom and got everyone the invitation, and I just got to just show up and enjoy this huge event. And I realized it was because someone else was organizing it. So in my 20s, I wanted that again. I wanted to like open a door and someone yell surprise, and like it'd be the most epic party, and that wasn't gonna happen. And I just kind of realized, like, Jared, if you don't do this for yourself, then it's not going to happen. So then I thought to myself, well, what would be the most epic party in the world? And just without even missing a beat, I instantly thought I would get Vanilla Ice and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I would put them on a stage and have them reunite the the finale of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, where the Ninja Turtles fall through the ceiling as they're fighting the bad guys, into a Vanilla Ice concert, who at the time of the filming was the #1 pop and hip hop star in America for like a brief 6-month period. And he's like, go Ninja, go. And as a small kid, that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I thought, you know what? That would be cool if that was real, if that was in real life. So I called Vanilla Ice's manager, and after a series of phone calls and a bunch of stuff I don't have time to explain today, turns out Vanilla Ice was only doing corporate gigs and was semi-retired. But for enough cash, about $15,000, he would show up and basically perform a concert. He would do whatever you wanted because Vanilla Ice is kind of done, you know? So then
this must have been before the Vanilla Ice project.
Yes. So this was 2013 or so, and he wasn't doing any concerts. And I realized, well, to have a concert, you need to have a venue. So then I called around and found a venue, and the venue was also $15,000. So basically, I needed like $35,000. I checked my bank account. I needed about $35,000 at the time. So I got online and I said, listen, world, my name's Jared, and I have a dream, and it's going to be to put Vanilla Ice and the Ninja Turtles and do a live concert like you hadn't seen since you were a little kid in the movies. And if everyone just sort of puts $40 in the hat, I'll take all the money, and I promise I'll make this concert happen. And anyways, about 2 weeks later, I had the $30,000, and about a month later, I had about $100,000. Before it all sold out, I had about $125,000 or $130,000. So rather than doing the party and netting $100,000 in profit, I called every other washed up has-been rapper in America, Tone Loc, Young MC, Shock G from Digital Underground, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, like all these guys who had one or two songs that you can remember from like 1988 to 1993. I called every one of these guys and put them in a room, and I called it Jared's Epic Party. And what I ended up inventing was like a 1990s, throwback hip hop variety show, which would go on later.
I still want to go back in time and go to this. That's literally my childhood that you just described.
Well, they commercialized it, and it's called the I Love the 90s tour. So if you have ever heard of or ever come across a tour, they've now done over 250 shows since my birthday in 2014. The I Love the 90s show, or the I Love the 90s tour, is in fact the commercialized version of my 30th birthday party. That's a genuine fact.
That's awesome.
So, but at my party, it was the deluxe version. This was the nonprofit version. So I had, people in suits. I had, the Back to the Future time machine. I had, RoboCop was there. We had the Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters were there, just on and on and on. Even Kevin Eastman, who co-created the Teenage Ninja Turtles, showed up to the party himself to see what the hell was going on. In the middle of all this, I said, what would be really crazy? I want to set a Guinness World Record. Because as a kid, I would always be looking through those books and looking at all the pictures and just seeing all the cool world records. I'm like, I want to be in there. What's one that I can do? And I looked, and turns out there's a world record for what they called the world's largest toy pistol fight, which is essentially the world's largest Nerf battle. And at the time, the record was like 600 people. So I'm thinking, this is easy. I got 1,500 people coming to the party. I'll just have everyone bring a Nerf gun, and at the end of the party, we'll have them leave it in a box, and we'll even donate it to charity. And so that night, in the middle of the party, we stopped it, and for 10 minutes straight, we had what was absolutely the Guinness World Record largest Nerf gun battle. After the event was over, we had about 950, almost 1,000 Nerf guns, donated them all to the Buckner Children's Home, which is a local Dallas charity. It's an orphanage. And anyways, I'm like, that's great. The record was 600. We had about 1,000 guns. We broke the record. And I email all this over to Guinness, and they're like, no. I'm like, what are you talking about? No. And they're like, no, this isn't official. You didn't have, affidavits. You don't have signed witness statements. You don't have, 4 different, unbroken HD video camera angles and surveillance. Like, you didn't follow any of the protocols. You didn't do anything right. There's no way we can certify this as an actual Guinness World Record. Please don't waste our time again. And I was like shocked. Wow. And hurt. And so I realized the business of breaking Guinness World Records is actually quite serious, and you can't just email them some cell phone photos and say that you broke a Guinness World Record. It's not going to work out. So I realized that I needed to focus on just the Guinness World Record aspect of it, not make it like a side attraction inside of this massive epic party. And I had the idea, just kind of came to me, that I need to rent out an NFL stadium to do it. So I called the Dallas Cowboys, who had at the time pretty new stadium, and in 2016 this was still only like 5 or 6 years old at this point. And I got the Cowboys to agree, very begrudgingly and very hesitantly. They agreed to rent me the stadium. As an individual, I became the first non-corporate, non-privatized individual ever to rent out the entire stadium in 2016. Wow. And this time I knew that I needed to get Guinness World Records to fly in there themselves, but that cost $10,000. So I sourced a local sponsor to give me the $10,000 to get Guinness World Records. So shout out Mint Dentistry for that $10,000 donation. Thank you. And we flew in the actual Guinness World Record official. Her name's Christina. And now by then the world record had been broken and raised all the way up to, I don't know, like 1,200 or 1,300. But luckily for me, I had about 2,500 people in the stadium there that day in 2016. And she personally counted the ticket stubs, officiated it. And there in March of 2016, we officially broke that Guinness World Record. She presented me with the actual world record. If I would have known you were going to ask about it, I would have had it here in the room. It's just right around the corner. But in any case, like validation, right? Like lesson learned the right way and the wrong way, validated myself, broke the Guinness World Record. We had fun and it was over. In 2017, though, the Cowboys called me back and I'm like, how can I help you? And they're like, you going to do that Nerf thing again? I'm like, nope, wasn't planning on it. We're good, you know? And they're like, well, you probably should. I'm like, well, why would you ask that? And they said, well, you know, we're getting calls like every week from parents and people seeing these YouTube videos and stuff. And their kids are upset that they missed out and they want to know when it's going to happen again. And so it hadn't even dawned on me then that I should make it into a series or like an event and like something that recurs. I really just wanted to do it once to validate my error from 2014, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. And so based on the Cowboys really suggesting that I pursue it, I created it a second time in 2017. And that time we had, 3,800 people show up. Now I didn't re-break my Guinness World Record because I learned that it cost $10,000 or more per attempt.
Yeah.
And plus I'm breaking my own record. So what do I got to prove, right? But we did it in 2017 and then every year after that until the pandemic where we had to cancel. But in 2021, we were one of the first live mass participation events in America to come back. Just a month after the Texas Rangers had the first, publicly attended Major League Baseball game is when we did our event. And I made up the 2020 event. So we did Blaster Battle 5 and 6, a doubleheader that day. And then we'd go on to rent out SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles and then eventually Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis and even Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And then we started doing two times a year in Texas because the demand has gotten so big. So we do like a summer version and a holiday edition where Santa Claus and the Grinch and elves and everyone come down and we have like a red versus green battle. And anyways, since that first time I was brave and went out of my way to try to set this Guinness World Record, we've now done 15 NFL stadium events from LA to Atlanta, Indy, and Dallas. And all of this just came from me being brave and, being willing to step out of my comfort zone and try to make something happen other than what was normal, easy, or expected. And I'm not anything particularly special. I don't have some super duper magic credit card that just never gets declined or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's about having a vision and pursuing it and just saying like, there must be a way to make this happen. And, turns out people like to have fun. People like to get their family and their kids together. And it is quite epic to go into an NFL stadium with a roof on top that's always 72 degrees, no matter what the weather is outside, and just have a blast with your family. Mm-hmm. I didn't even mean to, but I created like a really, really cool original event concept that I'm not competing with anybody. It's not like you can go to Jake's Epic Blaster Battle or Jim's Epic Blaster Battle. It's Jared's Epic Blaster Battle or no one's, because no one else in the world is crazy enough to even attempt this kind of thing. Right. So I like that. I like really innovating rather than duplicating. I don't want to be the 10th guy to show up at the party to do something that everyone else is doing. I really like the idea of coming up with something brand new, something that's never before been seen or done before, because that makes me excited, Mm-hmm. And so anyways, that's really the story with the Blaster Battles and the Guinness World Record. There's that me setting that first Guinness World Record put me on the radar that I even knew about the business of Guinness World Records. And before you knew it, other brands were calling saying, hey, we want to send a Guinness World Record. How can you help us?
Oh, wow.
And so I started becoming a Guinness World Record consultant. And I worked with a Nissan dealer.
Which no one even knew that's a thing, right?
It's not a thing. But remember I told you earlier at the top of the podcast that like I started doing this because of a series of coincidences. That's what I'm talking about. I never meant to do any of this, but like one thing happened and now I'm doing this and then I'm doing this and doing this. So then, a Nissan dealer called me and said, we want to set a Guinness World Record. And we came up with a world record for the world's largest parade of Nissan cars, number 2. Then XPEL, the PPF company, film production company out of San Antonio said, hey, we heard that you set 2 Guinness World Records. We want to set a Guinness World Record too. So in 2018, XPEL set the Guinness World Record with that gentleman I spoke about earlier, Mike Burke of Sunstoppers in North Carolina, for the most windows tinted in a day. That was the 3rd Guinness World Record. Then a local drone show company here this year says, man, it's kind of bothering us that you have 3 Guinness World Records and we've got 0. Like, we want to set a Guinness World Record. Can you connect us with the Guinness World Record people? Like, absolutely. Next thing I know, they get a Guinness World Record for the world's largest aerial display in the sky made out of drones. And that was number 4. So like, next thing you know, records that I come up with or were directly associated with putting together or helping to organize and facilitate, have got me like in the book or brands that I'm working with in the book. And I just never thought that would happen. And it's so much more exciting to kind of think that, man, there might be another one and another one and another one like that, So if I can do it, anyone could do it. I'll definitely say that that's the case, but you got to be willing to, step out of your comfort zone a little bit and do something, right on the other side of something you're a little bit scared of doing is something that you would probably be really happy that you did. That's the truth. I
love it. Yeah. And I think that's a great place to kind of wrap up and really just to point out that little bit of bravery, that little bit of courage and, being someone that's, you're 40, I'm 51, to see those stepping stones and to see how each thing that you step out to do can build into something else over time. Right. Like, and it doesn't have to be freaking, SoFi Stadium, right? It doesn't have to be something at that level, but it can be something in your local community. It can be, you can do great things in a small way. Right. And so I think that courage, and I love that story. I was super excited to ask you about it. And it's even better than I thought it would be. So I appreciate that.
Listen, at the end of your life, when they're standing at the little lectern talking about what you did and who you were, they're not going to talk about how many cars you put PPF on. They're not even going to talk about how many Guinness World Records you set or how many stadiums you rented out or how much revenue your LLC made or whatever. They're going to talk about how you made them feel, how you treated them, and how much you meant to them and how much you cared or loved others. It really is. I'm telling you, that's what you'll be remembered by.
100%.
Right. And so, the impact you make on the people around you, small or large, that's really where it's at. Right. And we all have an opportunity to make an impact through, gestures of kindness, through, professionalism, through being original, helping others. And even in the context of our business, there are opportunities to do this, but, people are going to remember how you make them feel. And keep that in mind, next time that, you're upset about something, is that it probably doesn't matter. Like 30 years from now, 50 years from now, it doesn't matter. No one's going to remember this crap. Just forget it. Like, we're here and then we're not. So like however much time any of us have, it's less than we had yesterday. That's a fact too. Yeah. Right. And so let's be more intentional with the time that we have to do the things that matter and that will make a positive impact on others in our community around us. I actually believe that.
I love it. I do too. We're right on the same page there. Well, man, this was cool. This was awesome. I appreciate you. How do we find more information about you and what you guys do? And
Sure. So I'm easy to find on Facebook, just Jared Guynes on Facebook. I had the blue check mark before you can pay for it, but that's okay. So you can find me. I'm the official and only Jared Guynes. I'm on all the different social medias, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, etc. As for our marketing agency, we really work on by referral only. So we don't really take because there's just 2 of us. It's just Jessica and I, and that really is it. And so because of the way that we do our business and the very intimate and very close proximity we spend with any of our clients, we really do prefer to work just hand in hand with clients based on referral only. So if you need to get a hold of us, you'll find a way. But if not, don't worry about it.
Call the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm not actually that cool. All I'm saying is that, we're just not set up in a way to get phone calls and messages just from the general public. And we kind of did that on purpose because, we're pretty happy with our little client collection. We're just working on dialing it in, but I do get to do public speaking and you might catch me at different industry shows, seminars and conventions and stuff like that. We're pretty active in that arena.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, this is very valuable for you to share this time with us, and I really appreciate it and hope you have a great day. And I look forward to hearing about Jared's epic party Nerf battle. Jared's epic
whatever
Nerf battle.
Sure.
2024, whatever.
Yeah. When I know, I'll let you know. Thanks, man.
All right. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Head over to detailersroadmap.com and get your one-stop success solution today.